How my life has changed. I used to work on cruise ships as a musician. I traveled a lot. I spent the month before the first lockdown in 4 continents. I used to get up really early, drive to the airport and fly to a port across the world and get on a ship just to get to work. Then I used to spend between 3 and 14 days on the ship. The ships were great. The food was excellent, and the staff were brilliant. The ship stopped at fantastic places, and I often used to spend the afternoon at the beach drinking cocktails or sightseeing. But there were disadvantages too. I often didn't know anyone on the ship. But the passengers all knew me, and they used to talk to me every time I left my cabin. I didn't have any privacy. Of course, I had to chat to them politely even when I wasn't in the mood. But now, everything has changed. The cruises aren't running now, and I don't know when they will run again, and I've been in my flat for a year. I never used to spend much time here, and I haven't spent a whole year in England for over 20 years. But I've enjoyed it. I bought a bike last year, and I found some great beach cafes that I never used to know about. I also bought a camper van, and I drove around the coast. I always used to prefer beaches in the Caribbean and the Mediterranean to British beaches. The weather is much better for a start. But I found some beautiful places last year. I could park on the beach in some places and run straight into the sea. They were much less touristy and more peaceful than the places where the cruise ships go. I'm spending a lot more time alone now. I didn't used to be alone much when I was working. But since the pandemic started, I have developed new relationships with people who I didn't used to know very well. I always used to prefer the company of entertainers and people who like to travel. I used to think that people with normal jobs were boring. But since last year, I've got to know some really interesting, strong, kind and caring people. So that's been really valuable. 3 experiences I have had. Dear Sir/Madam, I would like to apply for the job of tour leader for your Overland Africa tours. I have had lots of useful experience for this role. I have spent 5 months backpacking around Africa. In 2018, I visited Ethiopia, Kenya, and Tanzania. I used local transport and organized my own accommodation, food, and visas. I enjoyed meeting local people, learning about local traditions, and visiting natural parks. I read and learned a lot about the culture and wildlife, and I even learned some Swahili and Afrikaans. This trip taught me to be independent and to organize travel arrangements. I have also worked as a leader at a children's summer camp in the south of England. I worked there in 2017. I led activities for children aged 9 to 12, including football, climbing and campfire songs and games. For this work, I received training in climbing instruction and first aid. During this time, I developed many useful skills. For example, I had to ensure the children were always safe and happy. I learned how to be helpful and positive, and I also learned ways to entertain people and help them make friends when they are with strangers. Finally, I have completed the Active Youth Challenge. I did this while I was at high school in 2016. To complete this challenge, I firstly had to volunteer with a local organization. I helped at a social club for the elderly, where I chatted and played games with the members. The experience taught me to be patient and friendly. Secondly, I had to learn something by myself. I learned car mechanics. This taught me some useful, practical skills. Thirdly, I organized a 4-day camping and hiking trip in the Scottish mountains with other students from my school. This experience taught me about camping equipment and how to deal with problems like bad weather and getting lost. I believe I have lots of useful experience to work as an overland tour guide. I would love the opportunity to tell you more about my skills at an interview. Yours faithfully, Nicholas Rigby. A really popular summer festival in the UK. One of the most popular summer festivals in the UK is the Edinburgh Festival. It isn't actually one festival, 8 festivals are held in the city simultaneously, including the Art Festival, the Book Festival, the International Festival, the Fringe, and the Royal Edinburgh Military Tattoo. The Edinburgh Festival has happened in August every year since 1947, except for 2020. The idea for a festival came from Rudolf Bing, an Austrian who loved and sponsored the arts. Bing was the general manager of the famous opera house at Glyndebourne in the south of England. He wanted to organize an international festival of music and opera to help fund the opera house. Different cities were considered, including Oxford, but finally, Edinburgh, which already had a long history of festivals, was chosen. 2 important events took place during the first international festival. Firstly, a week-long film festival was organized by the Edinburgh Film Guild. Secondly, 8 theater groups arrived uninvited. They were not allowed to perform in the international festival, so they set up their shows in other venues in the city. That became the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. The Fringe Festival is now the largest of the festivals. In 2018, it featured more than 55,000 performances of 3,548 different shows in 317 venues. There are circus, music, dance, comedy, theater performances, and much more. Comedy is the most common performance. Over a third of the shows are comedy. A popular event of the military festival is the tattoo. It takes place at the castle each night. Military musicians from across the world perform, and there is a great light and fireworks display. Another popular event is its grand finale, a classical music concert in Prince's Street Gardens, when fireworks shoot into the sky in time to the music. Attending the festival is a great experience, but planning ahead is a good idea. Hundreds of thousands of people attend each year, so you'll need to book accommodation and tickets for popular shows in advance. But don't plan too much. You'll find out about great, little-known shows and performers while you are there, and you'll be disappointed if you are too busy to attend. 3 popular inventions from the 1920s. The 1920s was an exciting time for inventions. Some of the things invented around that time changed the lives of millions of people, and some of those inventions are still widely used today. The television. The invention with the biggest impact was probably the television. It was invented by a Scottish man, John Logie Baird. The first televised pictures were sent over a short distance in 1924, and his invention was formally demonstrated at the Royal Institute 2 years later. The pictures on the screen were not clear, but the viewers could see that they were human faces, and they could see their eyes opening and closing. In 1928, images were sent from Britain to America, and later, to a ship 1,500 miles out to sea. In the same year, the first color images were sent. The first seeing-in sets were sold that same year. For £25, £1,000 in today's money, people in their homes could watch moving images that were sent from a broadcasting station. The fridge. Another invention that became popular in the 1920s was the home refrigerator. People used different ways to keep food cool and fresh long before the 1900s, but home fridges weren't invented until 1913 in the USA. Home fridges became very popular in the USA in the 1920s. Sales of the popular Frigidaire model increased from 5,000 in 1921 to 750,000 in 1926. British people were less interested in fridges than Americans. They thought that they were unnecessary because the weather in Britain was cooler. But fridges were heavily advertised, and their advantages were described in detail. Soon, more fridges were sold, and the price decreased. The polygraph. Another interesting invention of the 1920s was the polygraph, or lie detector. It was invented in 1921 by a Californian policeman, John Larson. He used the ideas of other psychologists to make a machine that measured people's heart rate, breathing, and blood pressure while they were asked questions. The experts believed that sudden changes in these measurements showed that someone was lying. Although this invention is well known, it can't really detect lies. Marston tried to use measurements from his polygraph in a court case in 1923, but they weren't accepted as evidence and never have been since then. However, polygraphs are still used by some police forces and the FBI because many people believe they work, so they tell the truth to avoid the machine. Should your kids help with household chores? Not everyone thinks that children and teenagers should help with household chores. Some believe that asking children to help in the house teaches them important life lessons. Others feel that they should only think about school, extracurricular activities, and having fun. From a young age, children can learn to do some small jobs around the house, like tidying up their rooms, making the bed, and setting the table. In this way, children learn that a family needs everyone's help. They also learn to value manual work and to respect others and their work. As they grow, it feels natural for children to participate in the housework even more, such as clearing the table and washing the dishes. But it's important to ask kids and teens to do chores that are right for their age and won't be too hard for them. If they are doing something for the first time, they should learn how to do it first. They don't know what to do if they don't see it. For children and teenagers, learning how to cook a meal, do laundry, or clean the house is an important part of growing up. It gives them confidence in their own abilities. When children and teens are responsible for some household tasks, as well as doing their homework and participating in after-school activities, they learn to organize their time better. This can be useful in every aspect of their lives. Some people don't agree with this idea. They think that helping with the housework might make children's lives harder when they should just enjoy being young. Because childhood is an important part of their lives, they believe that children have other things to think about, such as studying at school, doing sports, or playing music. They worry that giving them chores might stress them out or take away from their fun time. What rainbows mean around the world. A. Ireland. In Ireland, it rains a lot and there isn't much sun. But sometimes, when the sun comes out after the rain, you can see pretty colors in the sky. That's a rainbow. Old stories from Ireland say that a leprechaun, a small magical man, hides his pot full of gold at the end of the rainbow. You must follow the rainbow to find the gold, but it's very hard. Rainbows always move when you get near, and no one can find the gold. In Irish culture, if you see a rainbow, good things will happen. B. Hawaii. Hawaii is called the rainbow capital of the world. After light rain, often the sun comes out, and you can see the rainbow. In native Hawaiian culture, rainbows are signs that people receive from the gods. Some people believe that rainbows help the spirits of dead people travel from the human world to another world. In Hawaii, a rainbow reminds people they are not alone because someone always looks after them. See, Africa. In some African cultures, a rainbow may be a spirit that looks like a snake, bringing good or bad luck, depending on how it feels. For this reason, many people think that a rainbow is a message that something big, good or bad, is going to happen soon. D. Australia. In Aboriginal Australian stories, there's a powerful snake called the rainbow serpent that lives in water, and it's very old. The rainbow serpent made rivers, mountains, and lakes when planet Earth was born. If people respect the land, the snake will be good to them. If they don't, it may bring storms or floods. For Aboriginal people, the rainbow helps us remember that we must respect nature. E. Scandinavia. In the north of Europe, old stories say that the rainbow is a bridge called Bifrost. It's the bridge between our world and Asgard, the home of the gods like Odin and Thor. Only gods and brave people can walk across it. The guardian at the beginning of the bridge stops bad people from entering Asgard.
Living in a small town versus a big city. We used to live in Turin, a big city in the north of Italy. It was very exciting with lots of things to do, but living in the city can be expensive. At the weekend, we often went to the park for a picnic, but there were always lots of people and the children couldn't play football there. Sometimes we went to the museum. We all enjoyed learning about art and history. Other times, we went to the shopping center to buy new clothes. My husband worked in an office downtown, not too far from where we lived, but driving to work every day was a problem. The car park was always full and he didn't know where to leave his car. It was much easier to take the bus. I used to work at a factory making tomato sauce. It was just outside the city, so I drove my car there after dropping the children off to school. 2 years ago, we moved from Turin to a small town near the countryside. We sold our city apartment and we bought a house with a big garden. There are many trees near us and we hear the birds singing. That's the kind of life we wanted. I now work at the town's post office, sending letters and selling stamps, and my husband now works in a smaller office in the town hall, where he writes important emails. There aren't many restaurants or big shops in this small town, but there are other things to do. We visit the library more often because we spend more time reading. We take long walks to see old buildings. There's even a castle, and the children think there's a king living in it. It's an important tourist attraction and many people come to see it. We grow our fruit and vegetables in our big garden. We don't buy them at the market anymore. City life was busy and stressful for all of us. Life now is slower and I was worried. What will the children think? It was a big change and the first few weeks were difficult, but they love it here now. Of course, we miss the city sometimes, but we prefer our life here. A 2 English reading test. The girl who saved 100 lives. In 2004, on December 26th, Tilly Smith, a 10-year-old girl from the UK, was on holiday in Thailand with her family. They were walking along Mai Khao Beach in Phuket. The weather was sunny, but the sea looked strange. The water moved back, going far away from the beach, and it looked white with bubbles. Tilly felt something was wrong. 2 weeks before, Tilly learnt about tsunamis in school. Her teacher showed a video of a big wave that hit Hawaii in 1946. When she saw the strange sea in Thailand, she remembered the lesson. She told her parents, "Tsunami! There'll be a tsunami soon." At first, her mother didn't believe her, but Tilly was scared. She asked her family to run away from the beach. She cried, "Please, Mom, please come back with me. It's dangerous here. If you don't, something bad will happen to you." Her father listened and told the hotel staff. They quickly moved people away from the beach. Around 100 people, including Tilly's family, went to the second floor of the hotel. Just then, a huge wave hit the beach. The tsunami that day began after a big earthquake close to Indonesia. Big waves hit 14 countries and killed more than 227,000 people. Many were tourists. Thailand was hit 2 hours later. Thanks to Tilly's warning, everyone was safe at Mai Khao Beach that day. People called her the angel on the beach. She won many prizes and a French newspaper named her Child of the Year. She even met the President of the USA who said that Tilly's story shows that education can save lives. Today, countries have warning systems to tell people when a tsunami is going to happen. In 2004, they didn't. Because of stories like Tilly's, we now understand how important it is to learn about natural disasters. Education can truly save lives.